Hi Hinsters, how you doing? Happy Saturn day. It is July 31st. We are almost getting into August. Welcome back, Hinsters. And if you're new, welcome too. Do subscribe to my channel if you like what I do. If you resonate with this video, give this video a thumbs up as well, please. If you enjoy, if you take something from it, and if you'd like a reading with me, you can check my description below. And if you are a Leo or Leo rising, I am offering 50% off all my services for the entirety of Leo season just for you. So check that out as well. Now, there's a couple of things I wanted to say before we get into today's video proper, just before I forget to say them, because I've been like itching. It's been a very like itching to do this type of video, this one. But I am finally getting around to it. And this is the Mars in Virgo transit video. Mars, of course, you may know, is already in the sign of Virgo. But one of the first things I just wanted to get like out there to the Hinsters is that some people, and sometimes it's us as well, I've been this person as well, but sometimes people don't know how to say sorry. People have a sorry language, just like we have a love language. People also have a sorry language. So I think that's something that we're going to start paying more attention to, a lot of us, through this transit, and especially once we eventually get into Virgo season. And also I pulled some cards over the last few days when channeling for this video, and I got the Tower. You can see this is from Kim Krans's Wild Unknown. This is the Tower. Also pulled the Three of Swords right there. And then just today, actually, I pulled the Nine of Pentacles. You can see different images there, different symbolisms from the Tarot coming through for this reading. And, you know, with the Tower, we've got urgent pains, definitely, rising up. And these are like literal, physical, quite simple signs for us to act in order to correct something. And it can, of course, as is classically attributed to Virgo, it can relate to the health, our anatomy, our spiritual health, our bodily health, both. And also with the Nine of Pentacles, there's this sense of luck when you are being logical, when you are being practical, when you're just doing what makes sense with a smile on your face, I think, as well, and being abundantly giving with the practical, the material. And also like thinking about what is the last sort of little thing needed to be done for you. Like for some of us, it's like there's just one last little thing, piece to the puzzle, before, you know, we can turn around and sort of see that 10 of Pentacles type of thing. And also with the overarching Oxyar energies, this is like a possible time, especially when Virgo's proper season comes, a time of possible wavering, you know, wavering from that lane. If we ignore, as I just said before, these sort of simple signs that should be surfacing now, and possibly with a little irritation. And, you know, with the Three of Swords, we've got pent up communication and that very Virgoan thing of wanting to get something off your chest. So that's the other thing I wanted to say first is, you know, what do you hate? Let me know in the comments what you hate. And sometimes it's good to focus on hate, you know, what gets on your nerves sometimes, because this is like a brilliant time to sort of deal with that thing or think about it or combat it. You know, venting is healthy in moderation, and it's part of the spiritual experience. And I think one of the darker sides of Virgo energy is to pretend that it's not okay to vent, to pretend that that life is perfect, the situation is perfect, you know. And also to realize now that sometimes people aren't worth your efforts, and that's okay. You know, you don't have to guilt trip yourself. You don't have to let anyone else guilt trip you either, or let a situation or a scenario kind of put pressure on you. Sometimes people just aren't worth it, and that is okay. As I was talking about in Cancer season, Cancer sextiles Virgo, and we had Mars in its fall in Cancer as well. You know, that was a time also for us to realize that, like the nurse can't like possibly care for every single person with the same capacity. They've got to care for themselves as well. They've got to have their respite, their time off, you know, their annual leave. And also now I think routines will get disrupted in some sense for some of us. It might just be one aspect of your sort of daily routines, but something gets disrupted. And again, it's like a simple sign to pay attention to something perhaps, or it's just part of what's going on in the sort of spiritual energetic background. So just kind of go with it, you know. And with Venus as well as Mars in Virgo right now, there's this conflict about, you know, who and how to serve. Virgo is the servant archetype. And so who and how to serve, I think we're going to be more kind of conflicted. Again, should I bother with this person or this thing? Is it worth it, this person or this thing? And feeling guilty, but then not feeling guilty, you know, feeling sharp and then feeling guilty and then feeling sharp and then feeling guilty. And this kind of energy that will start to increase as we get closer to Virgo proper season. You know, I had quite strong stomach pain, which I actually remember being a similar pain that I felt to one of the full moons that we had, the full moon in Virgo, just before the pandemic got really bad here in the UK. But anyway, these type of pains again can rise up now. Mars is a malefic planet, classically, traditionally. If you want to get, by the way, a better picture of Mars thus far, this is the Mars Mood series. Do check out my previous episodes for this series. And with Venus, as I said, in front of Mars in Virgo too, we're definitely now, I feel, getting a strong Virgoan voice coming through, backed, of course, by a lot of that fierce and final sort of finite Leonite energy. A lot of people are letting things sort of float out of the window as well, you know, and kind of flying away like a bird as well right now, which is really interesting, and giving up on things, even throwing things out that were once essential or everyday to them. And I do try not to like advise for or against anything too strongly unless asked, but I do feel that any sudden destruction or quitting of things now could really be regretted later, you know, until around early next year. And I think a lot of us are focusing actually on, this is another thing that's happening, is that we're focusing on a particular detail and we're letting a particular thing we don't like about some place or person or situation, and we're letting that justify being suddenly chaotic or throwing in the towel. But again, I think this is not the time for veering off into other lanes, unless, as I've been saying on my channel recently, unless it's part of your bigger picture plan and not just a whim or a heated emotional thing. This is the Virgo Pisces axis, where we get a lot of delusional energy with Virgo too, of course, a sort of energy that lets the tiniest thing become the justification for chaos. And I've seen it time and time again with Virgos and Virgo risings, and I have so much Virgo in my third house. So I definitely relate. Something that becomes obsessed over, that we just can't get out of our heads until we make the cutting away of that something a reality. We kick back and we declare we're not happy. And in some dramatic way, perhaps we take our exit. Leo season, drama, and bold announcements and dramatic exits. I think also, though, that now is a great time to really throw ourselves passionately, you know, into some form of service. As I was saying earlier, Virgo is the archetype of service, the servant. Mars makes us want to really seize, grasp, or encapsulate some idea of ourselves or our own perfect scenario, so that we thrust ourselves into things with an interesting combination of foolhardiness and intense detail focus. Mars entered Virgo while the moon was in Aries as well. And also with Mercury currently being in Leo, which I made a video on, by the way, you can check that out. We've got so much commanding energy and like big potential to really emotionally or passionately commit yourself to something. Perhaps something that you were dragging your feet about earlier. Also, there's a sad side to this transit, I feel. Again, a destructive side, yes, but sad too, because a lot of the time we have an inflated idea of what a perfect situation or relationship should be, and we just won't listen to compromise and we let it go. We run away from basically from happiness, from peace. This is a crazy Virgo and Piscean thing that happens a lot. It's so interesting, really, the way Virgo and Pisces feed into each other and the way in which Virgoan energy easily becomes this running away from that which no longer seems to be our ideal. I'd also be aware during this transit of wasting our time again on certain people or situations. Mars in Virgo will turn us into resentful servants quite easily. And again, this is a volume up moment for Virgo energy. So we will see more defiance from previously quiet people or spaces. But yeah, there's also this more particular thing that's been going on and will only be more triggered by Mars in Virgo, I think, which is thinking that we have to serve this person or thing, to give this person or thing the benefit of the doubt, when actually sometimes that's to our detriment. And we really need to, during this time, I think, pay attention to the first thing that is apparent when we meet someone or encounter a certain situation. Virgo has this basic, simple occurrence in the mind, a very simple knowing of something being up or wrong. It sextiles Cancer and Scorpio, of course, and it's a type, therefore, of intuition based on like the very first detail in Virgo's case, the very first something that is noticed, that is telling us that this person is wrong, or this place is wrong, or whatever the frig it is. And if we ignore it, then we kind of shoot ourselves here. It's a bit like, I don't know, you feel like you're compelled to buy someone who you don't really like or care for a beer. So you bought them a beer with your own money, and then you anyway spill that newly bought beer all over yourself. It's this kind of energy. But we also have to avoid, I think, overthinking or over searching for something wrong. That's Pisces. That's what we need to learn from Pisces. Just go with the first simple thing that is apparent, intuition, and help that kind of ride you through the buzz and the drama of the rest of it. Also, we will see, I think, that we do ultimately have to make truces with others. Some of us, even if something or someone has been incredibly annoying with Mars and Virgo now, it might actually be that the time that poof, they're suddenly gone or they're going. And not only that, but they do something very beautiful, like buy you a cake or tell you a queer little story, or I don't know, just give you a hug or something out of the blue. These simple little gestures and gems, like left behind for us to just contemplate and like to think, were they really that bad? Was it really that awful? Of course, sometimes it really is. And I just trust that the Hinsters will use their discernment and sense here, Virgoan energies. But yeah, I do think we get tested by Mars to see if we'll continue to be vexed, by someone or something, or just let it go and see this small, beautiful thing, even if it's like an ironic thing, because sometimes it's going to be an ironic thing. And I think Mars can also really test our devotion now, that Virgo Pisces axis. Yes, we might want to throw our hands up in the air and give up, but we do need to focus on that person or thing or place or situation that fuels us with a fresh, green kind of joy, gratitude to be serving something or someone beyond ourselves, beyond our ego. And we've got to have faith in things, even that are hard or mundane, pedestrian, that they're to have faith in the fact that there's a depth to the long haul, there's spirituality to the long haul of our dedications. And with Mars entering Mercury's sign, and with Mercury getting well into its cazimi with the sun in Leo right now, we've absolutely got a lot of ego and heart power, pumping into our anger, into our drive, into our actions, our visions, our movements. So we've got to, be sure that we're pushing ourselves into the direction that makes most sense, and that which is not going to disrupt and destroy. At the end of the day, Virgo is the keeper of the light. There's always that side of us that has to stay put, to take care of something gentler, smaller than the self, or the grander surroundings, but still vital and crucial and important. And of course, we can get tired of this task and throw a tantrum or even feel sorry for ourselves. This can also be an incredibly interesting time for people who are angry about being cheated, abused, slighted somehow. It's like someone who knows they're being lied to or cheated on, but instead of confronting the culprit during this Mars and Virgo transit, there's a simple let God deal with it kind of thing going on here, and a way in which that someone just like continues to devote to something else, like work or family or friends or creating something. And the task of having faith in God, in the universe, even in trying times, that task is not abandoned by that person. And in a way, that person becomes sensibly prepared for the outcomes. There's not a fear here. And the anger is channeled into putting real effort and commitment elsewhere, because Virgo is always leaning towards Libra, the next sign, the next season, when things get crazy cardinal and the horn blow happens. The horn gets blown on us, and often with little leeway when Libra season comes along. But Mars is also about rough, raw trust, in your instincts. And so here we have a big chance to just trust in our judgment, to trust in the everyday toil of what we are doing. If it's something in the grand scheme of things, if it's worthwhile in the long run. And I feel that we're going to be letting off some steam, some critical steam, maybe, as I was saying at the beginning, venting, but that this is actually fair. This is part of a letting go for some of us of pent up feelings and thoughts. And it's just part of the natural, huff and puff that we experience when we are set on a steady, slow journey down a path, because even the steady, slow journey can't be perfect at all times. And one of the less, I guess, helpful sides of Virgo is to pretend, like I said before, that nothing is wrong, to act like everything is perfectly held together, to try and stitch things together very perfectly on the outside when there's something like simmering, and like toxic on the inside. So no, a little venting here and there isn't a crime. It's part of spiritual experience. But I know not everyone likes to hear this, but Venus is ahead of everything right now in Virgo, and Mars is just behind. And so the vibe really is kind of hearing not what we want to hear, but what we need to hear, saying not really what we want to say, but what we need to say, and to actually now let that kind of vibe allow us to better handle conflict, to better remove or negotiate obstacles and dreams as well. A very typically Piscean thing. They have to be worked hard towards. I think some people are realizing this now, but we don't have to think that Virgo energy is just slave energy. That's like a misunderstanding, slaving away to realize these dreams. No, it's it's a beautiful faith energy, a faith energy in the everyday, and a knowledge of God's grace, of the workings of the universe, and also of the fact that there's sufficiency in the very simple things of our everyday experience. And that, in fact, dreams and fantasies sometimes can quite quickly evaporate and kind of leave us stranded if we've been without a divine plan, without a simple, knowledge of where we're going and what we want to experience, every day, not just someday. Virgo is like, what are we doing every day? Not just the someday, some magical day. Virgo puts the magic into the everyday. So anyway, let me know where you have Virgo in your birth chart in the comments below, and what house or houses Mars will be transiting for you. And let's discuss it. I'm wishing you all very well, a nice rest of your weekend, and we'll see you very soon for another video. Mwah.